Hey everybody, welcome into this Adobe Illustrator tutorial brought to you as always by tutvid.com. You saw the title up there, right? We're going to talk about creating this ribbon effect, and really this tutorial it started out as I wanted to create a very simple ribbon, and it kind of turned into this retro ribbon, and I had this screenshot that I took from Dribble, and I kind of modeled it after this ribbon. I wish I could go back and find the artist. I really got to do a little digging. Maybe I'll include a link if I can find his or her credit down in the description of this video, but we're going to create this retro style ribbon in Adobe Illustrator. I think you're really gonna love it. Now, if you do enjoy the video, all you gotta do is hit the little subscribe button, whether it's in that corner or that corner, whatever corner it's in now on YouTube. Go ahead and subscribe to my channel so you never miss another graphic design or Illustrator video tutorial in the future. Let's take it away. So here we are in the good old Illustrator workspace here, and this is the ribbon. In fact, we're going to create this whole entire graphic from scratch. So we're going to go File, New, and we're going to choose to create a new 2560 by 1440 document. You can just use your width and height right over there. Go ahead and create that. And the first thing I'm going to do is, well, I'm going to come over here to my layer panel options and make sure that my little thumbnails here are big enough that everybody can see them. There we go. I'm going to name this layer BG for background. I'm going to grab my rectangle tool here. I'm going to click a single time, and I'm going to size this rectangle 2560 by 1440 as I did, just like that. And then up here in the top control bar, see I've got these alignment options. Well, first of all, we want to make sure that we have this set to align to artboard, and then we're just going to horizontal and vertical align the centers. And I'm going to come over here to where, down here at the bottom of my toolbar where I've got a fill and a stroke. I'm going to select the stroke, and I'm going to hit that little red slash to get rid of the stroke. Great. And then I'll double click on the fill to bring up my color picker. Now, the color I'm interested in making my background, I've already picked it out. I have it written down here, and it is 1416A. And I'm missing a 1 there because it's actually 14161A. There we go, hit OK. And you can see it's kind of like this very flat, dark, kind of desaturated blue. I'm good with the background. I'm just going to click on this little area between the eyeball and the blue bar to lock my background layer. Great. Come down to the bottom of the layers panel, create a new layer, and we can just name this layer whatever we want. I'm going to name it artwork just because, well, artwork's going to be sitting on this layer. And now what I'm going to do is begin by creating a couple rectangles. So I'm going to select my rectangle tool again right up there, and I'm going to click a single time, and this rectangle is going to be 700 by 200 pixels. I'm going to hit OK. Now, obviously, we can't see anything, but let's just go ahead and align this horizontally and vertically to the exact middle of our document just to get it there. And we're going to change the fill here as well. So once more, I'll double click the fill swatch there, and we're going to set this fill to CF 2010, just like that. You can see it's kind of this bright red-ish color. And what we want to do before we go any further is just duplicate this rectangle. So if I drop down this artwork layer here in my layers panel, I can see I've got a single rectangle. With it selected, we'll go Object, or I'm sorry, not Object, Edit, Copy, and then Edit, Paste in, let's paste it in front, yes. And I'm going to change the color of this rectangle. So once more, double click on your fill swatch, and we're going to fill this with BF5726. This is more of like an orange heading in the direction of yellow color. And what we want to do with this rectangle is just shut it off. So we're just going to hide that rectangle. We don't want to do anything with it yet. We'll bring that back a little bit later. Now let's select our original rectangle here in the layers panel, grab that rectangle tool, and we're going to create two more rectangles here. So I'm going to click once, and these rectangles are going to be 300 pixels by 200 pixels. All right, hit OK, and let's go ahead and grab our eyedropper tool right there. See it right up there? Voila, the eyedropper tool, and we'll just click with this little 300 by 200 rectangle activated or selected. We'll just use our eyedropper tool and click on our original rectangle, and that's going to fill it with the same color. Great. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this over. And by the way, up here under View, I have Smart Guides turned on. You see that Smart Guides? I have that turned on. So this is going to kind of allow me to auto-align this. See that? I got that kind of center dot of this rectangle right down in the exact bottom corner of my sort of the face of my ribbon. I'm going to hold down my Alt or Option key and drag this over until the dot clicks into the bottom corner of the opposite side of my front piece of ribbon. And what I'm going to do is hold down Shift and select the other sort of side of the ribbon. So I've got the two smaller 300 by 200 rectangles selected. I'm going to hold down my Shift key and nudge upward with my up arrow key. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 times. So we're going to bring those up. That looks great. And we're going to grab the rectangle tool once more. And what I want to do here is click once, and we're going to create two simple 200 by 200 pixel just regular squares, grab the selection tool, or the direct, not the direct selection tool, I'm sorry, just the regular select tool, hold down shift and rotate these squares so they're more like diamonds, right? I'm going to drag this over, and once more Smart Guides is going to kind of help me here because it's going to allow me to align this with the exact center of this little ribbon, and I'm going to align it as if we're sort of going to be cutting this triangle into the edge piece of ribbon. So if I just quickly fill this with green, you'll see if that square was not there, this rectangle would have more of like the edge of a ribbon, right? So I'm going to select that green rectangle, hold down Alt or Option, and just drag straight across. Hold down your Shift key, and you'll constrain, to be perfectly straight across, and we'll drop it kind of in the same place. I'm just trying to make sure that wherever I drop it, this sort of top corner, the edge of the red path, you can see that it's almost cutting right out of the exact top corner and the exact bottom corner, right? So we're going to have nice pointy edges and not like flat edges for the edges of a rectangle. And now what I'll do is I will go Window, Pathfinder, because I just love the Pathfinder, and we're going to drag a selection over the one green square and one sort of edge of the ribbon, just like that. And we're going to use this option right here, the minus front option. So I'm going to click that, and you can see, voila, chops that ribbon right out. We're going to do the same thing for the other side, and they're going to be slightly different, off by just ever so slightly, but I actually kind of like that because this is going to be sort of an imperfect ribbon, and, it's just going to work for what we're doing here. I'm going to drag the Pathfinder panel up over here out of the way. Now, I do want to just mention before we go any further, if you are enjoying this video and you're looking to support the channel in some way, shape, or form other than subscribing, which of course is an amazing way, you can also pick up my graphic design or advanced Photoshop course. A link will appear, that's why I'm pointing up at the top corner of the video there. A link will appear there. You can go and check it out. If it looks like something you're interested in, hey, go ahead, pick it up. That's a great way to support the channel. I know it's on Photoshop and not Illustrator. I'm working on something for Illustrator. It's going to be out soon, and it's going to be amazing. Let's get back to this video. All right, so getting back into this, what I want to do now is select both of these, the edges of the ribbon. So hold down Shift and select the other one. And we're going to go Object, Arrange, and we're just going to send these to the back. So they're just kind of sitting, as you can see in the Layers panel now, they're sitting behind what will be the face of our ribbon, just because that's just kind of where they should be, right? If this is going to be a proper ribbon. And next, and this is probably kind of important that you go View and turn your Smart Guides on, we're going to make sure we have our Smart Guides turned on. Grab the Pen tool, and I'm going to, you can see the advantage of Smart Guides is when I'm drawing with something like the Pen tool, I can hover over, and Illustrator will be like, if you click now, I'm going to drop an anchor point directly exactly on top of where this anchor point is now. Great, so I'll click there, and then I'm just going to scroll down until I'm right there on top of that anchor point. Great, and then I'm going to come all the way over to this anchor here. And I'm going to click once, and then I'm just going to draw any old random shape and complete the shape just like that. In fact, I'm going to fill this with black just so we can really see it. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. So click to draw to that anchor, and to this anchor down on the very point of the ribbon, and voila, up and over. Great. Now what I think I want to do, I actually think I want to bump the sides of the ribbon outward a little bit. Let's just real quick, I'm going to collapse my transparency, collapse color a little bit here as well. I want to shut off these two big black shapes that we just drew. We'll bring those up in just a second. Now that I'm looking at it, I want to move these pieces of the ribbon outward a little bit. So I'm going to hold down Shift, and for this one, I'll hit my right arrow key once, twice, 3, 4, 5, maybe like 6, 7 times. All right, so we'll do the same thing over here with the left arrow key. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Voila. All right, we'll turn our black shapes back on, and we're going to have to move the point down here, this little anchor point here. We're going to have to shift it over to get it kind of creating a realistic angle. So we'll grab our direct selection tool. We can hover over that anchor and simply hold down our Shift key and nudge. And here I'm going to nudge to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9. And if we do 9 on that one, we should do 9 on this one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Something like that will be great. Now what we want to do is add a black stroke to both of these. It's going to be the same exact stroke. So just click, I'm shift clicking, or you can just drag a selection over both of just the black shapes. We're going to open up our stroke panel here, and I'm going to set the weight of the stroke to 20 points. So it's going to be a pretty big stroke. Now I want this stroke not to be gray. I need it to be very, very solid black. So up here in the color panel, I'm just going to select the fill, right? And I'm going to make sure all my black slide, or my RGB sliders, are driven all the way into the black. That's going to give me a nice, perfect black. That's great. So now I'm going to select, let's begin with the shape over here on the right, and go Edit, Cut, and then select the right side ribbon. Go to your transparency panel, and we'll double click on the transparency panel until it opens up enough that you can see both little thumbnails. The thumbnail with the cross sign, or don't enter or stop type sign, is the opacity mask. So we'll double click on that to create the mask. We will uncheck this little clip option, and then we will go Edit, paste in front, and that's going to paste our little shape in, and you can see what it's doing. It's giving us this nice little gap here for our ribbon, right? It's a long, winded process to get there. But once you've done it a couple times, it's actually pretty simple. Select the other black shape, edit, cut. We're going to select that left ribbon shape, double-click on the mask thumbnail, unclip, and then edit, paste in front once more, and voila. Oh, and I should mention, when you can see we got this blue outline surrounding the mask, we need to make sure we click on our artwork here, and that will take us out of the mask editing mode. So we're back to just editing our artwork. And you can see you really could stop right here if you wanted just a simple, straight, flat ribbon. This would be perfect. But I think you guys know me, and we're going to go a little bit deeper than this. We're going to go a little bit further than this. We're going to make this a little bit more complex. I'm going to close the Pathfinder panel. We might have to open it back up later. We'll see. What I want to do is go ahead and create a series of very pointy triangles. So I'm going to click here on my rectangle tool and choose the polygon tool. I'm going to click a single time with the polygon tool, and nothing really matters in here in terms of size. What really matters is the number of sides. I'm going to make the radius like 150 just so it's, big enough that we can see what's going on. And a three-sided polygon is, you guessed it, a triangle. The reason that the size doesn't really matter is because we're going to use our width and height options up here in the toolbar, and we're going to set and make this the perfect size triangle for what we're creating. So I'm going to set the width here to 10 pixels, and you're going to see it's going to really give us a super duper pointy triangle, and I'm going to set the height to like 125. So we get this very thin, tall, pointy triangle, and what I'm going to do with this, in fact, I'll zoom in so we can really get a better look at it for those of us watching on smaller screens. We have this little triangle, and we're going to go Effect, Distort and Transform, and I'm going to choose Transform. Now here under the Transform dialog box, we're going to do a few things. Number one, tick on Preview so we can see what's happening. And I want to go ahead and make 10 copies of this shape. So I'm going to set copies to 10, and I'm going to move each copy 12 pixels horizontally, and you can see exactly what we're creating. It's almost like we're making a little pattern here. That's perfect. I'm going to hit OK, and now we want to break this out into all individual shapes. Right now it's still an appearance, so we're going to go Object, Expand Appearance, and we have this nice group of shapes here. See, polygon, and it's all of the triangles all together. That's perfect. So now what we want to do is simply rotate this a couple different ways so we can add some texture to both ends of the ribbon, but also to the front side of the ribbon. I'm going to fill this with black just so we're not confused as to where the shape is. I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to nudge it, or I'm going to rotate it, excuse me, and then I'm going to drag it down here, and I'm going to place it like right at the bottom of my my little ribbon shape there, and then I'm going to stretch it upward until it clicks to the top. Something like that. And you know what? I might even make it a little bit bigger. So much for getting the size of the triangles right when we created them. But you know what? Let's just do it this way because this is how it is in real life when you're really working on a project. Hold down Alt or Option and the Shift key and just drag another copy of this over to the other side, and we'll go Object, Transform, Reflect. And we're going to reflect this along the vertical axis and hit OK, and you can see there we go, flips that right around. And we're just going to drag this over and place it in approximately the same position. But again, it doesn't need to be exactly perfect because this is a very rough technique we're using here. And what I'm going to do is just hold down my Alt or Option key and drag an additional copy of these spikes up and just drop them there temporarily. Because what we're going to do is take these groups of spikes and we're going to use them to chop holes into each side of our ribbon in that same mask that we were just using. So once more, we'll go Edit, Cut, select that piece of ribbon. Remember, we have that mask we created before, and then Edit, Paste in Front. And you can see if we go back to our artwork, we now have all this stuff chopped into the side of our ribbon, which is pretty cool. It's a neat little effect. We'll grab this series of triangles, Edit, Cut, and we will select our piece of ribbon, select the mask. We'll go Edit, Paste in Front, voila, and we will select this thumbnail once more to get back to our regular artwork editing mode. Cool. And if you don't like the fact that both ribbons look exactly the same, well, you can go into that mask. We can, select the series of triangles. And we can like nudge it upward or something just to keep things mixed up and muddled up and just a little bit different for each side of our ribbon. Cool. Now we want to turn on that orangey rectangle that we got rid of before. And what I'm going to do is take my group of triangles here and drag it down and click it right to the edge of my ribbon face, just like that. And I may even hold down Shift and nudge 1, 2, like 3 clicks to the left, and then I'm going to hold down Alt or Option and the Shift key and drag it across. I'm going to go Object, Transform, Reflect. We're going to reflect this along the vertical axis, hence flipping it around. And we can just drag this into place. Smart guys are going to snap us right onto the ribbon. Now, we could just leave it like this, but I think I'm going to nudge it to the right, 1, 2, 3, just to kind of match the other side. Now, here's where things kind of get interesting. We need to select both pieces of spikes, like both groups of spikes at the same time. So select one, hold down Shift, click on the other, and we need to cut these now. So edit cut to copy or cut them to our clipboard. And we want to select this orange shape. Now remember, when we double click over here in the transparency panel to add the mask, it gets rid of all that color, which is exactly what we want, because if we reference our other ribbon, we really just want to bring this orange back using these spikes here on the edge. So that's great. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste my spikes in place by going edit, paste in front. And now I just need to fill these spikes with white. So I'm just going to choose white up here in my color panel, and then I can deselect by selecting this thumbnail and coming back out to where I can edit my artwork, and you can see we've created the base of this retro ribbon. Again, we're at a point here where if you love the way the ribbon looks right here, right now, you're done. You can stop, you can, use it for your project, whatever you like. Now what we need to do is cut a little notch in the sides of our ribbon, and there's a number of different ways you can do this. I'm going to kind of cheat and use a font. If you don't have the font, you can always use the pen tool and create a shape. You can do it any way you like, or you can leave the ribbon straight, but here, just follow along if you can. I'm going to create a selection, or drag a selection, I should say, over both the orange ribbon and the red ribbon. You can see those are the two layers of my layer panel that are selected. They got the little red dots next to them. Perfect. I'm going to go Object Group to group these together because we need to apply a layer mask to both of these. Now, I'm going to use a font. I'm going to grab my type tool here, and I'm just going to type out any letter. I'm going to type out a capital I. There we go. And I'm going to, well, I need to make this font bigger. So with that little text field selected, I can just up here in my top control bar, choose to make this font like 150 points, which should be big enough. But if I move this I over, now, that's nowhere near big enough. Let's take it up a bit more. I think 150 was for the final finished text. Let's go 600 points. Yeah, that looks like that'll work. And we want to use the font Bohem or Bohem Press. I think it's called Bohem Press. I'm going to go Bohem. Yeah, there it is. Bohem Press right there. I believe this is a free font. Don't hold me to that, but I'm pretty sure this is a free font. And you can see it's got this nice sort of like old Western notch style to it, which is great. It's perfect for us. We need to break this typeface down though, and you can see it keeps loading because it is still active typeface. We're going to right click on it and choose Create Outlines. Right, that's step one. Then we're going to right click again and ungroup it because it is textured and has those little bits of texture. And after we ungroup it, we're going to right click one more time and check out the layers panel here. Watch what happens. We're going to release the compound path, and this is going to give us all these little pieces of path because all these little things are the little bits that make up the texture. Obviously, we don't want all that stuff. We just need a solid shape. So we're going to go Window, Pathfinder, and I'm going to choose this option here, which is to merge all the shapes together. And you can see now we just have one solid eye. Great. I can get rid of the Pathfinder again. And we can just take this over and position it on the edge of our ribbon, kind of just like that. It'll make its cut. And it's not quite straight up and down. You get it as close as you can to that little notch being straight up and down across. But again, it does not at all need to be perfect. Hold down your Alt-Option key, drag out a copy, hold down Shift, and that'll constrain it to be perfectly straight across. And there we go. Something like that looks good. So now what do? Well, of course, we select both of these eyes and we go Edit, Cut. Right? You're going to be very familiar with this workflow by the end of this tutorial. Select the centerpiece of the ribbon, back to the transparency panel, double-click to create a layer mask, unclip this, and edit, paste in front. And you can see what we've done is just cut these nice little notches in both sides of our ribbon. And if you're looking at it and saying, the notches aren't quite high enough, well, we're still here in the mask, right? The mask has the blue outline around it. You can drag a selection out and grab both of the eyes and just nudge them upward with your arrow keys until it kind of looks right. I think that looks about right just there. So I'm going to select my original thumbnail here in the transparency panel, and I'm back to my normal editing mode. So now that we've done that, we're ready to grab the type tool again, and we're going to use that same Bohem Press, and I'm going to select, and I'm going to type out the word Arizona. There we go. And we obviously need to make this a little bit smaller, and I think I hit on the right size before, that being not 600 points, but 150 points. That looks about right, right? Yeah, it looks like it'll fit right in the middle of our text, just our ribbon. And what I'm going to do is align this to the very middle of our document, kind of like that. Maybe I'll nudge it downward a little bit. Ding, 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 just like that. Cool. I actually kind of like the texture in this text because of the way it's going to interact with our final finished ribbon. So now with this text selected, once more we'll go Edit, Cut, because we want to punch a hole in the ribbon. Select that layer group right over here. It contains our ribbon with the sort of orangey texture bits on the outside. We already have that layer mask. Select the layer mask in the transparency panel, and then simply edit, paste in front. And because that text is black, it's going to punch a perfect hole with texture, by the way. See those little bits of texture in there? That's pretty cool. It's going to punch that hole right in the middle of our ribbon. Perfect. So I'm going to select my thumbnail here in the transparency panel, and we're getting closer and closer and closer to being finished here. We want to group all of this together. So I'm just going to grab all of my pieces of ribbon and then go Object, Group, and now they're all grouped together, because what we want to do is put this thing on a little bit of an angle by going Object Transform Shear, and I'm going to shear along the vertical axis. I'm going to turn preview on so I can see what's happening, and I'm just going to begin knocking the angle down. So I'm going to go negative, at least negative 10, maybe negative 15. I kind of like negative 15, right? That looks pretty cool. And go ahead and hit OK. So we just went and tilted all of that artwork we made, and now it's on this nice angle. And that in and of itself is pretty slick looking, right? It looks pretty cool. But we're going to take it a little step further. And here is where I need to kind of promote a little download. If there's a link down in the description of this video where you can go and download this set of grit textures for Adobe Illustrator, and they're going to be really helpful for an application like we're doing here with this little ribbon. These textures that I put together, it's a free download over on tutvid.com. If you're a part of my email list, you'll just punch your email address in and you'll get the free downloads. If you're not a part of my email list, punch your email in, you become a part of my email list, and you get the set of free downloads. And if you don't want to be a part of my email list, you can just unsubscribe anytime. But hey, guess what? You still get the free vector texture downloads. What I'm going to do is go with something like this texture right down here in the bottom center, and all I need to do is copy this. So edit, copy, and then go back over to the one, the ribbon I'm working on, and simply go edit, paste, and you're going to see it's going to drop this right in the middle of my document. I need to make it a little bit bigger, so I'm just going to stretch it out. It really doesn't matter if I constrain proportions or not, because it's texture and nobody's really going to know the difference. There we go, something like that looks good. Maybe I'll bump it up from the bottom a little bit more. Yeah, maybe I'll go a little bit more. Just a little bit of a labor of love, getting everything exactly where you want it to be. And now we need to set the foreground not to be white, but to be black. So I'm going to select the black swatch up here in my color panel. And I may even drop this down to CMYK and make sure that it's completely black. So when we mask this, it really looks solid and crisp and snappy. Great. So I'm going to select this, this texture and go Edit, Cut. And now this time we're going to apply a layer mask to the entire layer group that we created, right? So select that whole layer group, double click on the transparency panel to throw a layer mask on there, uncheck the clip, and we're going to go Edit, Paste in front to paste that texture right in place. And when I deselect, you can see we've created this texture, which is now just scattered all over our little ribbon. We'll go ahead and hit our little thumbnail to go back to regular editing mode, and now we're even one step closer to being finished with this little ribbon. But I think I want to take it one step further. I think I want to go ahead and add this little sun behind the ribbon, just because, I don't know, it looks kind of cool. So let's go ahead and grab the ellipse tool. And I'm just going to drag out a little circle that'll be sort of like my sun, if you will. So we'll drop our sun right about there, and I'm going to select this. It's on top of our little ribbon now. Don't worry about that. We're going to double click on our fill swatch here, and we're going to fill this with the color FF9019, which is this kind of, you know, bright orangish color. I'm going to hit OK, and we're going to begin to add a series of concentric circles around this sun. This is a little technique I covered in another tutorial I did, but it still looks great here, so we're going to do it again. We're going to select the circle. We're going to go Object, Path, Offset Path, and choose to offset the path by 25 pixels. If I preview this, you're going to see it's simply going to push my circle outward 25 pixels. Hit OK, and it's dropped that circle now beneath my original circle. This works perfectly for what we're doing. Select this outermost path. It's the lowest of the paths created in your layers panel here. And we're going to, again, go Object, Path, Offset Path. We'll offset it 25 pixels. Again, we can turn on preview. Voila. And with the bottommost path selected, again, you can see that's the path that's selected. We're going to do it one more time. Object, Path, Offset Path by 25 pixels. You got it. Great. Now what I need to do is begin reducing opacity. So for the outermost ring, the largest of the circles, right, we're going to set the opacity up here in the transparency panel. There's the opacity. We're going to set it to like 10. It needs to be something pretty low. We're going to go to the next ring inward, and we're going to set this to like 20%. And we're going to go to the next ring inward, and we're going to set this to about 30% opacity. And then for the final middle ring, we can either leave it at 100%. We could try knocking it down to 80 and see what that looks like. It's actually not too bad. Yeah, I'll probably leave it at 80. We'll grab all of these rings for our sun, including the original sun, and we'll just go object group, just to group them up, get them together, because we'll probably want to, number one, drag them beneath our ribbon, right? But we also probably want to mask the sun so it appears behind the ribbon, if you will, or the ribbon is sort of covering it up. So once more, this is probably a job for the pen tool, and it's super easy because once more we have Smart Guides turned on. So I'm just going to align this with the path at the top of the ribbon and come all the way over to the other side of the ribbon and just draw a nice big shape down and around where the bottom of the sun is, right? I'll select this shape. I'll make sure that it's filled completely with black. So I'll drag all my CMYK sliders over, and then I'll go Edit, Cut, and we will select the sun group by hitting that little circle in the layers panel here in the transparency panel, double click to add that mask, uncheck clip, and go edit, paste in front, and we've masked away the bottom of the sun. Pretty cool. Now, one little thing, if you select the original thumbnail here, so we're working on that image, we can delink this artwork from the mask. So we can do that, by the way, by just hitting this little chain icon. The reason that's important is because maybe we're looking at this sun and we're saying we just see too much of the sun. So we can select this and use our arrow keys and just nudge it downward to hide a little bit more of the sun behind the mask, and we're not moving the mask with the sun. The mask just stays there and says anything that slides behind the ribbon is going to disappear. So we can just adjust the sun to make it just perfect until it looks just right, the way we want it to look great. I can go back over to the grit textures at this point, grab like maybe a more subtle texture, copy that over, hit the wrong button there, and we will select that group once more. I can come into this opacity mask, and I will just paste this by going Edit, Paste, and of course I need to fill this with black, so I'm going to make sure I'm here. I can just go to HSB, by the way, and just knock that back down to black, and I'm going to push this over so we can add a little bit more texture into the sun area. Great. And if I deselect, you can see that we're just cutting, we're really just adding some texture there to the sun. And if you really want to take it a step further, we can open up our group here of ribbons, and we can take any one of our kind of like spiky masks. So I'll come all the way into my orange, the orange part of the ribbon, right? And I can grab these two pieces of this mask and just copy them by going Edit, Copy. And we can take this all the way back out, so I can just close that group. I can go to my sun group, select the sun group. You can see here I've got this mask. I can go Edit, Paste, and now we're pasting these sort of white spikes. We need them, of course, to be black, so we're going to fill it with black. And I can just move these over the sun as well. So I probably want to work independently with them. So there, that one's in place, but then I need to hover over or drag out a selection over these ones and move these over as well. And then we get some of those same kind of like streaky spikes in the edges of the sun that we've created as well. So I'll select that little thumbnail there, this thumbnail in the transparency panel, to get back to kind of my normal editing mode. And hey, we've gone this long, so let me just show you how to throw a quick shadow underneath this this ribbon as well. So we'll select the ribbon, and we'll just simply drag it, or click and drag it down to the new layer icon. It's going to duplicate the group. I'm going to select the underlying group, and we'll just give this like a very dark blue fill. So double click on the fill swatch there. We'll go to our blues, and we'll give it like a very, very dark blue because our background has like shades of blue in it. Hit OK, and we'll just now use our arrow keys and nudge this down like 1, 2, and then maybe nudge it to the right 1 as well. And then I'll just reduce the opacity of this to something like, I don't know, 35%. Just something very subtle. And we get kind of this very subtle shadow. Now it's got a little bit too much saturation and not quite enough darkness. So let's go like darker and even more desaturated, something like that. And there we go. It's just a very, very subtle shadow. Maybe I'll make it a little bit more noticeable by bumping the opacity up to 65%. And you can play around really until it's just perfect. Maybe I want to nudge it just a little bit closer. Something like that is just what the doctor ordered. So you can see we've created this nice retro, grungy, distressed ribbon effect, but all along the way, you could have just stopped at the simple flat design ribbon. You could have stopped at just when we added those spiky masks to it. So a lot of different ways you can use the techniques here to create all sorts of different ribbons for your own projects as well. If you've enjoyed this, like I said, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Oh, and very important, if you do create this design or something that looks like this using this technique, I would love it if you would share it with me on Instagram. My Instagram handle will come up right here. It's at tutvid, Tutvid. Just tag me in it. You don't need some elaborate shout out. If you do a shout out, hey, cool. I usually come and try to like and comment and check out what everybody's doing. It's a whole bunch of fun and a good way for you to create something and put it out there for all your friends to see as well. So hey, why not? So for creating a retro, flat, angled sun and letter cutout ribbon. It turned into a little bit more than I was initially expecting, but hey, that's just part of the fun of this. For creating all of that in Adobe Illustrator, that's it. Get it? Got it? Good. Nathaniel Dodson, tutvid.com. I'll catch you in the next one.